Government 2305, United States Federal Government. Chapter 1, Critical Thinking and Political Culture. Becoming a Responsible Citizen. Critical thinking is about carefully evaluating information to decide what is reasonable to believe, and then using that information to form well-considered conclusions. It's essential for responsible citizenship because it encourages openness to different viewpoints and a commitment to uncovering facts. This mindset helps individuals make informed decisions and participate meaningfully in political processes. In recent decades, the obstacles to critical thinking have become more pronounced, posing significant challenges to our ability to discern truth from misinformation. One of the primary issues is the proliferation of information sources that often distort or obscure facts. This can make it difficult for individuals to identify reliable information amidst the noise. Additionally, political leaders sometimes contribute to this confusion by making misleading claims, further complicating the landscape of truth. Moreover, our own mental habits can hinder critical thinking. Cognitive laziness, for instance, leads people to accept claims without proper scrutiny, simply because it requires less mental effort. Confirmation bias is another significant barrier. It causes individuals to favor information that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs while disregarding evidence that contradicts them. These biases can create echo chambers where only familiar and agreeable information is considered, stifling open-minded analysis. Recognizing these obstacles is crucial for overcoming them. By being aware of the ways in which information can be manipulated and understanding our own cognitive biases, we can take steps to enhance our critical thinking skills. This awareness allows us to approach information more skeptically and analytically, ultimately leading to more informed and rational decision-making. The barriers to political thinking identified by the author are crucial to understand and address in order to become a critical thinker in the realm of political science and civics. These barriers include confirmation bias, emotional reasoning, heuristic shortcuts, lack of information literacy, groupthink and social pressure, misinformation and lack of civic knowledge, and partisanship and ideological rigidity. Each of these obstacles plays a significant role in shaping our perceptions and understanding of political issues, making it essential to recognize and overcome them. Firstly, confirmation bias is the tendency to favor information that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs or values while disregarding or minimizing evidence that contradicts those beliefs. This bias can create echo chambers where only familiar and agreeable information is considered, stifling open-minded analysis. Recognizing and challenging our own confirmation biases is crucial for developing a more objective and informed perspective on political matters. Emotional reasoning is another significant barrier, where emotions or personal feelings override objective analysis and logical reasoning. Emotional appeals in politics and media can cloud judgment and prevent individuals from engaging in rational evaluation of issues. It is essential to be aware of how emotions can influence our thinking and strive to maintain a balanced and analytical approach to political information. Heuristic shortcuts, or cognitive shortcuts, involve relying on mental shortcuts or rules of thumb rather than thorough, systematic evaluation of evidence. While heuristics can be useful for making quick decisions, they can also lead to errors in judgment, especially in complex political situations. Developing the habit of critically evaluating information and avoiding reliance on heuristics is vital for accurate political thinking. Lack of information literacy is another barrier that hinders critical thinking. Difficulty in distinguishing between credible and unreliable sources of information can lead to a distorted understanding of political issues. In an era of widespread misinformation and fake news, it is imperative to develop the skills to evaluate the credibility of information sources and seek out reliable and accurate information. Groupthink and social pressure can also discourage independent critical analysis. The tendency to conform to the opinions of a group, sometimes at the expense of independent thinking, can stifle dissent and critical questioning. Recognizing the influence of group dynamics and social pressures is essential for maintaining an open and critical mindset. Misinformation and lack of civic knowledge further complicate the landscape of political thinking. Being misled by false or incomplete information or lacking the foundational knowledge necessary to critically assess political claims can hinder effective participation and critical engagement in civic life. It is crucial to seek out accurate information and develop a solid understanding of government processes to become an informed and engaged citizen. Lastly, partisanship and ideological rigidity can override objective consideration of facts and alternative viewpoints. Allowing strong party identification or rigid ideological beliefs to bias our interpretation of political events and policies can lead to a polarized and misinformed electorate. Being aware of how partisanship can influence our thinking and striving to consider multiple perspectives is essential for developing a balanced and informed political outlook. To effectively address the barriers to critical and political thinking, we must consider several key solutions. Confirmation bias can be mitigated by actively seeking out and considering information that challenges our beliefs, promoting critical thinking and open-mindedness. Emotional reasoning, where emotions override objective analysis, can be managed by recognizing and controlling our emotions and using evidence-based reasoning. Heuristic shortcuts, or cognitive shortcuts, can lead to errors in judgment. Promoting thorough and systematic evaluation of information helps avoid these pitfalls. Lack of information literacy, the difficulty in distinguishing credible from unreliable sources, can be addressed by educating individuals on evaluating the credibility of information sources and promoting media literacy. Groupthink and social pressure, the tendency to conform to group opinions, can be countered by encouraging independent thinking and critical questioning. Misinformation and lack of civic knowledge can be tackled by providing accurate civic education and promoting fact-checking. Lastly, partisanship and ideological rigidity, where strong party identification overrides objective consideration, can be addressed by encouraging multiple perspectives and constructive dialogue. By implementing these research-based solutions, you can enhance your critical thinking skills, becoming a more informed and rational decision-maker, and ultimately, a more responsible and engaged citizen. Political science is the systematic study of government and politics. It's both a descriptive and analytical discipline that increase one's ability to think critically and objectively when addressing political and societal problems. This discipline offers valuable tools to enhance critical thinking by providing reliable information about how the U.S. political system functions. It also offers systemic generalizations that reveal major trends in American politics and precise terminology to describe political concepts. This analytical framework helps individuals to interact using terms and concepts that precisely describe key aspects of the world around us. As a citizen, understanding the language and thought process of political scientists will help you understand complex political dynamics and evaluate political claims more effectively. Political culture refers to the deeply held beliefs and values about politics shared by a country's people, shaped by historical traditions. In the U.S., these core ideals stem from the European heritage of early settlers and define how citizens relate to their government. Understanding this culture is crucial for grasping the foundations of American political behavior and attitudes. Unlike many countries with a dominant ethnic majority, the United States is characterized by its diverse immigrant population. The largest ethnic groups include German Americans, Mexican Americans, and Irish Americans, none of which form a majority. This diversity shapes the nation's political culture and social dynamics, reflecting its identity as a nation of immigrants. Liberty is a fundamental American value that emphasizes individual freedom to act as one chooses, as long as it doesn't harm others. Historically, the availability of unsettled land and the desire to escape religious persecution in Europe fostered this value. Liberty remains a cornerstone of American political ideals and personal identity. Individualism in America reflects a strong commitment to personal initiative and self-reliance. The economic opportunities available in the New World encouraged this value, rewarding hard work and independence. Alexis de Tocqueville observed that Americans' primary goal is to remain masters of their own fate, highlighting the cultural importance of autonomy. In the United States, much emphasis is placed on the ideals of self-support and determination to achieve our dreams and ideals. This is often described as rugged individualism, which is a commitment to personal initiative and self-sufficiency, emphasizing the importance of every citizen becoming their own master. Equality is the belief that all individuals have equal moral worth and deserve equal treatment under the law. However, this ideal has been complex and contested throughout American history, especially given the coexistence of freedom and slavery in the nation's early years. Differing opinions on the meaning and application of equality continue to shape American society. Some view equality as ensuring that everyone has the same opportunities and rights, regardless of their background or circumstances. This perspective emphasizes the importance of providing a level playing field where individuals can succeed based on their abilities and efforts. Others argue that true equality requires addressing systemic inequalities and providing support to those who have been historically marginalized or disadvantaged. This approach focuses on creating conditions where everyone can achieve similar outcomes, not just have the same opportunities. The difference between equality and equity is crucial in understanding these perspectives. Equality involves treating everyone the same and providing the same resources or opportunities to all individuals. In contrast, equity recognizes that people have different needs and circumstances, and it involves distributing resources and opportunities in a way that addresses these differences. Equity aims to achieve fairness by ensuring that everyone has what they need to succeed, even if it means providing more support to some individuals than others. Self-government is the principle that political authority originates from the people, who should have a voice in their governance. Early American colonists experienced significant self-determination, inspiring the vision of a nation governed by the consent of the governed. This value underpins democratic practices and the legitimacy of government authority. While Americans hold idealistic cultural beliefs, history reveals significant failures to live up to these ideals. The institution of slavery and the subsequent Jim Crow era represent profound contradictions to the nation's core values, illustrating the challenges in realizing American ideals fully. Equality has never been an automatic right in America. Historical barriers like racial immigration restrictions and limited voting rights have excluded many groups. The ongoing struggle for a more equal society is reflected in civil rights movements advocating abolition, suffrage, minority rights, including LGBTQ equality, and expanded access to education. These efforts continue to shape American democracy. The debate over diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, initiatives in schools, businesses, and museums has become a prominent issue in recent years. Proponents argue that DEI efforts are essential for creating a more inclusive and equitable society, while critics claim that these initiatives can sometimes lead to divisiveness and a focus on identity politics. This debate is closely tied to the broader cultural clash between woke ideologies, which emphasize social justice and systemic change, and traditional notions of American exceptionalism and patriotism, which celebrate the country's unique history and achievements. Recent changes in attitudes reflect a growing polarization, with some viewing woke as a pejorative term and others seeing it as a call to action for social progress. This slide illustrates the diversity in college education attainment across U.S. states, reflecting the nation's values of individualism and equality. The U.S. boasts the world's largest college system with about 4,000 institutions, but educational attainment varies significantly by state, highlighting regional differences in access and emphasis on higher education. States with more than 35% college-educated adults include California, Oregon, Washington, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Minnesota, Illinois, Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Hawaii. States with 30 to 35% college-educated adults include Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Arizona, New Mexico, Nebraska, Texas, Missouri, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Delaware, Maine, and Alaska. States with less than 30% college-educated adults include Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota, Iowa, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Indiana, Kentucky, and West Virginia. This variation reflects regional differences in access to and emphasis on higher education, with states having higher percentages of college-educated adults potentially enjoying better economic opportunities and higher standards of living. Politics is the process through which society resolves conflicts and distributes benefits and costs. Power is the ability to influence political outcomes. Authoritarian governments maintain control by repressing opposition, whereas the U.S. operates under democratic principles, constitutional limits, and a free market economy, promoting political freedom and participation. The United States is distinguished by its commitment to democracy, where the people govern either directly or through elected representatives. This system emphasizes majority rule through free and open elections, ensuring that the government reflects the will of the people. In contrast, authoritarian regimes, such as those found in some countries, maintain control by repressing political opponents through intimidation, restriction of rights, and even imprisonment and physical abuse. Constitutionalism is another cornerstone of the American political system. The U.S. Constitution was designed to prevent any one branch of government from holding too much power, ensuring a balance of power among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. This system of checks and balances is intended to protect individual freedoms and prevent the abuse of power. In contrast, authoritarian and some communistic systems often lack such legal restraints, allowing leaders to wield unchecked power. The United States also operates under a free market economy, where private transactions primarily drive economic activity. While there is some government intervention through regulatory, taxing, and spending policies, the emphasis is on empowering business firms and individuals. This contrasts with communistic and socialistic systems, where the government often plays a more central role in economic planning and control, potentially limiting individual economic freedoms. In summary, the U.S. focuses on democracy, constitutionalism, and free market economics, promoting political freedom, legal protections, and economic opportunities. This stands in stark contrast to systems that prioritize authoritarian control, centralized economic planning, and limited political freedoms. Democracy means governance by the people, either directly or through elected representatives. In practice, it involves majority rule through free and fair elections. Majoritarianism reflects the idea that the majority's preferences guide government actions, underscoring the central role of electoral participation in shaping policy. While democracy emphasizes governance by the people, it does not equate to majoritarianism. Democracy involves not only majority rule, but also the protection of minority rights and interests. This balance is crucial to prevent the tyranny of the majority, where the majority's decisions could potentially infringe upon the rights of minority groups. In a democratic system, mechanisms such as checks and balances, judicial review, and constitutional protections are in place to ensure that the majority's power is not absolute and that minority rights are safeguarded. Conflict can arise when the principles of democracy and majoritarianism clash. For instance, a majority decision that benefits the larger group may disadvantage a minority, leading to tensions and disputes. This is why democratic systems often include provisions to protect minority rights, ensuring that all individuals have a voice and that their rights are respected, regardless of their numerical strength. While democracy involves majority rule, it also requires a commitment to protecting minority rights and ensuring that the majority's power is balanced by legal and institutional safeguards. This distinction is essential to maintaining a fair and just society where all individuals are treated equitably. Pluralism describes a system where special interest groups significantly influence government decisions. Authority refers to the legitimate right of officials to exercise power. Unlike authoritarian regimes that suppress opposition through coercion, democratic systems recognize authority based on consent and legal frameworks, allowing for diverse interests to be represented. Both Republicans and Democrats affirm core American ideals like self-government and equality under the law. However, partisans tend to view their own party as more committed to these ideals and often question the other party's dedication. This partisan perception highlights the polarized nature of contemporary American politics. Republicans often emphasize the importance of individual liberty, limited government, and free market principles. They advocate for policies that reduce government intervention in the economy, promote personal responsibility, and uphold traditional values. Republicans tend to view their party as the true defender of American exceptionalism, believing that the United States' success is rooted in its commitment to individual freedom and economic opportunity. On the other hand, Democrats prioritize social justice, equality, and the role of government in addressing societal issues. They support policies that promote economic equality, protect civil rights, and expand access to healthcare and education. Democrats often see their party as the champion of marginalized groups and believe that government intervention is necessary to create a fair and just society. These differing perspectives can lead to conflicts over policy decisions and the direction of the country. For example, debates over healthcare, taxation, and social programs often reflect the fundamental differences in how each party views the role of government. Republicans may argue that reducing taxes and government spending will spur economic growth and individual prosperity, while Democrats may contend that investing in social programs and infrastructure is essential for addressing inequality and improving the quality of life for all citizens. The polarization between Republicans and Democrats is further exacerbated by media coverage and political rhetoric that often portrays the opposing party in a negative light. This can lead to a lack of trust and cooperation between the parties, making it difficult to find common ground on important issues. The Founding Fathers created a constitutional system with limitations to prevent the concentration of power and protect individual freedoms. They devised a system of checks and balances, ensuring that no single branch of government could dominate the others. This balance of power among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches was intended to prevent tyranny and promote accountability. The Bill of Rights, consisting of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, was added to guarantee fundamental rights and freedoms to citizens. These rights include freedom of speech, religion, and the press, as well as protections against unreasonable searches and seizures and the right to a fair trial. The Bill of Rights serves as a safeguard against government overreach and ensures that individual liberties are protected. The principles of constitutionalism involve lawful restrictions on the power of government and the majority. The Constitution establishes the rule of law, meaning that government actions must be based on established laws and procedures. This prevents arbitrary use of power and ensures that government officials are held accountable to the law. Legal action and the use of the courts allow ordinary citizens to exercise power and protect their rights. The judicial system provides a mechanism for individuals to challenge government actions and seek redress for grievances. Through legal action, citizens can assert their rights and ensure that the government operates within the bounds of the Constitution. The free market system in the U.S. primarily relies on private transactions, but includes government regulation, taxation, and spending to guide economic activity. Corporate power reflects the influence businesses have on public policy, while elitism refers to the power held by influential individuals. These dynamics shape economic and political interactions. In a free enterprise system, businesses operate with minimal government intervention, allowing market forces to determine prices, production, and distribution of goods and services. This system encourages competition, innovation, and efficiency as companies strive to meet consumer demands and maximize profits. However, the influence of corporate power can lead to significant impacts on public policy. Large corporations often have the resources to lobby government officials, fund political campaigns, and shape legislation in ways that benefit their interests. This can result in policies that favor big businesses over small enterprises and individual consumers, potentially leading to economic inequalities. Elitism, on the other hand, refers to the power exercised by well-positioned and highly influential individuals. These elites, who may include business leaders, politicians, and other prominent figures, often have the ability to shape public opinion and influence political decisions. Their power can be seen in the way they use their resources and networks to advance their agendas, whether through media influence, political contributions, or direct involvement in policymaking. This concentration of power among a select few can lead to a lack of representation for ordinary citizens and a political system that caters to the interests of the elite rather than the broader population. The interplay between free enterprise, corporate power, and elitism creates a complex landscape of economic and political interactions. While the free market system promotes economic growth and innovation, the influence of corporate power and elitism can lead to imbalances in power and representation. This dynamic can result in policies that prioritize the interests of the wealthy and powerful, potentially at the expense of broader societal needs. This table summarizes America's systems for allocating power. The democratic system emphasizes majority rule and group influence. The constitutional system is based on the rule of law and individual protections. And the free market system centers on private economic transactions, empowering businesses and elites. Together, these systems interact to shape governance and society. The democratic system in the United States is built on the principle of majority rule, where the people govern either directly or through elected representatives. This system ensures that the government reflects the will of the majority while also allowing for group influence through pluralism. Pluralism acknowledges that various interest groups compete to influence government policies, ensuring that diverse perspectives are considered in the decision-making process. This dynamic interaction between majority rule and group influence helps to create a more inclusive and representative government. The constitutional system, on the other hand, is based on the rule of law and individual protections. The U.S. Constitution establishes a framework of checks and balances among the three branches of government, executive, legislative, and judicial, to prevent any single branch from becoming too powerful. This balance of power is crucial for maintaining accountability and preventing tyranny. The Bill of Rights, which consists of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, guarantees fundamental rights and freedoms to citizens, such as freedom of speech, religion, and the press. These constitutional protections ensure that individual liberties are safeguarded, even against the will of the majority. The free market system in the U.S. primarily relies on private transactions, but includes government regulation, taxation, and spending to guide economic activity. This system empowers businesses and elites, allowing them to influence public policy through corporate power and elitism. Corporate power refers to the influence that business firms have on public policy, while elitism refers to the power exercised by well-positioned and highly influential individuals. These dynamics shape economic and political interactions, as businesses and elites often have the resources to lobby government officials, fund political campaigns, and shape legislation in ways that benefit their interests. The interaction between these three systems creates a complex and dynamic landscape of governance and society. The democratic system ensures that the government reflects the will of the people, while the constitutional system provides legal protections and checks on government power. The free market system drives economic activity and innovation, but also introduces the influence of corporate power and elitism. Together, these systems work to balance the interests of the majority, protect individual rights, and promote economic growth. A defining feature of American politics is the broad distribution of power across many competing interests and institutions. This pluralistic environment means that no single group dominates, fostering a dynamic and often complex political landscape with multiple actors influencing policy and governance. Pluralism is the idea that power in a society is distributed among many groups and organizations, rather than being concentrated in the hands of a single entity. In the United States, this means that various interest groups, such as businesses, labor unions, environmental organizations, and civil rights groups, all have a voice in the political process. These groups compete with each other to influence public policy, and their competition ensures that no single group can dominate the political landscape. Pluralism works by encouraging a diversity of viewpoints and interests to be represented in the political process. This diversity is achieved through mechanisms such as lobbying, advocacy, and participation in elections. Interest groups use these mechanisms to promote their agendas and persuade policymakers to support their positions. The competition among these groups creates a system of checks and balances, where the influence of any one group is countered by the influence of others. This helps to prevent the concentration of power and ensures that a wide range of interests are considered in the policymaking process. However, if pluralism fails and a single group or individual exerts too much power or influence over policymaking and governance, several negative consequences can arise. When power becomes concentrated, it can lead to the marginalization of other groups and interests, resulting in policies that favor the dominant group at the expense of others. This can create significant inequalities and undermine the principles of fairness and representation that are fundamental to a democratic society. Moreover, the concentration of power can lead to corruption and abuse of authority. Without the checks and balances provided by a pluralistic system, those in power may act in their own self-interest rather than in the public interest. This can erode trust in government institutions and weaken the legitimacy of the political system. The organization of the U.S. government textbook is designed to provide a comprehensive understanding of the American political system, its foundational principles, and the various actors involved in governance. The textbook is structured around several key themes, each of which is crucial for understanding the complexities of the U.S. government. Firstly, the textbook delves into the constitutional system, explaining the framework established by the U.S. Constitution to prevent the concentration of power and protect individual freedoms. This section covers the system of checks and balances among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, ensuring that no single branch can dominate the others. It also discusses the Bill of Rights, which guarantees fundamental rights and freedoms to citizens, and the principles of constitutionalism, which involve lawful restrictions on the power of government and the majority. Next, the textbook explores the political role of citizens and intermediaries. This section emphasizes the importance of citizen participation in the democratic process, highlighting how individuals and interest groups influence public policy and governance. It discusses the mechanisms through which citizens can assert their rights and interests, such as voting, lobbying, and engaging in legal action. The textbook also examines the roles of governing officials, elective institutions, and their appointive bodies. This section provides an in-depth look at the various actors involved in the U.S. government, including elected representatives, appointed officials, and the institutions they serve. It explains how these officials and institutions interact to create and implement public policy and the importance of accountability and transparency in governance. In the concluding chapters, the textbook gives attention to public policies, discussing the various policies that shape American society and the challenges involved in their formulation and implementation. This section covers a wide range of policy areas, including economic, social, and foreign policy, and examines the factors that influence policy decisions. Finally, the textbook recognizes the difficulty of governing effectively and the importance of striving to do so. It acknowledges the complexities and challenges involved in governance, including the need to balance competing interests, address diverse needs, and navigate the constraints imposed by the constitutional system. This section emphasizes the importance of effective governance in maintaining a stable and just society. Let's practice some critical thinking skills by asking yourself and constructing well-considered answers to the following questions. Distinguish between political power, generally, and authority as a specific and special kind of political power. Contrast the American political culture with that of most Western democracies. What in the American experience has led its people to derive their national identity from a set of shared political ideas? Explain the defining features of each of America's major systems of governing, including democracy, constitutionalism, and a free market economic system. You have reached the end of this lesson. From here, you can choose to download this lesson as a PowerPoint, a video, or a PDF document with notes. Then use the lesson notes to complete the Chapter 1 quiz.